I think we did it. Good morning, afternoon, depending on where you live, painfully early, depending on where you live, or evening, depending on where you live. Hello, hello. Hi, Zoe and Shauna and Juan and Adva. I love opening a chat and immediately feeling like the romper room lady. I have my tea. It is actually quite crisp here. I live in a place, good morning, Hannah. I live in a place where it's possibly, 70 degrees one day and then 20 degrees at night. And that's what happened last night. So I woke up like a little popsicle, which made me want to stay in bed later. I hope everybody's having a productive but also peaceful weekend. I hope that you're seeing all the strikes and the boycotts and that you are feeling inspired to hit unscrupulous or unethical or non-humanitarian companies where they live, which is, of course, their wallets. Because they don't mind hitting us in our wallets. So, hey, James. Okay. Rainy and dark in Sweden. So happy to be there. It was so cold last night. And my 15-year-old was up late, so he tried to be courteous and close my bedroom door so I wouldn't hear the noises, because we made cookie dough last night, so I suspect he was making more cookies. But when you close my door, it is, when it's cold, it's the coldest room. You have to leave the door open so the rest of the heat can find itself into my room, even though I'm on it's just a weird room. So anyway, so I was like super cold last night. I have warm tea. Okay. So welcome. Thank you everybody for being here. And we're going to talk. We can recap, if you like, what I talked about in the Sagittarius new moon video last night, which was extensive. It was 2 hours and change. But I go through every house, and I go through every house talking about how this new moon may or could play out, or the best way to take advantage of it, because a Sagittarius new moon is usually it's a Jupiterian run new moon, so it's usually just depending on the other aspects, what we consider like an auspicious time to like start something new, right? If all the other circumstances are supporting it, then this is an extra excellent time. Very auspicious. The ruler of it is in retrograde, with Mercury in retrograde in an opposition, although that they are in mutual reception, kind of throws a question mark. Mars is getting ready to station. It'll go retrograde on the 6th or the 5th, depending on where you live. And that is in a trine, fiery trine with the new moon. And then we have Saturn that wants to give boundaries, structure. So, if you want to say constriction, it's like when you're a teenager and there's rules that you have to adhere to, and you just want to you just want to be social. You don't want to have to be like, I have to go, guys. My mom's here to pick me up. So Sagittarius it's Jupiterian. It wants expansion, quite literally. And then Jupiter is like, nope, this is, Saturn is like, this is, you're going to operate within these confines of these rules, these boundaries, this structure, because I'm trying to get shit done. I'm trying to self-actualize. I am trying to create order and balance, you know, to the fun and expansion, right? Like, we're going to expand, let's do it in a way that there's some structure. So there's a square going on between Saturn and the new moon. And then just to add fun in the mix, we have a trine between Venus and Capricorn, but the trine is between Venus and Uranus is in retrograde in Taurus, where it already really does not prefer to be. I said last night, if you took Venus in Capricorn, right? I mean, that just wants like worth. And like, that's not just like money or worth. That is like old money. I mean, Venus in Capricorn is like the kind of generational wealth that is so substantial and solid and widespread on the bottom and so industriously built. Industrious doesn't have to mean like mechanical industrial. Like, industrious was a word before there was machines. You know, so built that it can't be deconstructed, that wealth can't go away, right? That's Venus in Capricorn. And then we have Uranus and Taurus, where Uranus and Taurus already don't like each other, right? They are the odd couple. Taurus wants everything to kind of stay the same and be stable and build building blocks, which really totally jives with Capricorn's vibe, right? Like, they are trining, they are I love you more, totally get each other. And here comes Uranus like wonky to come in, shake things up, disrupt everything to put it back the way it'll best serve us. But, you know, you're probably not going to like the in-between process of shaking things up, deconstructing. Which, you know, is deconstructing is also Pluto. But I mean, Uranus is there to like surprise us and disturb things, you know, shake things up a little bit. So they already, if Taurus and Capricorn could be sitting at the table in Mean Girls, they would say to Uranus, you cannot sit with us. You can't sit with us. They don't really prefer it. So that is a really wonky trine because it's unfettered, unrestricted flow of those energies. So, and again, I think that we are seeing that, as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, with the protests and the empty Walmarts and the strikes. You know, I think we're seeing that when I said we're hitting them where they live, right, and their bottom line numbers. That's how it's playing out collectively. Now, does it mean somebody's going to come in and take all your money? Or you're not going to get paid? Or absolutely not. But it's going to play out different ways. Last night's video is time-stamped. You can go look by your rising sign. I should add the houses, but obviously, if it's not in one rising sign, you should look on either end of the two sandwiching rising signs to find out where it is in your house. If you're just not sure, you only know your rising sign, but you don't know what the actual degrees are, message me. If you're watching this later and I'm not live, message me. And also you get charts and all kinds of stuff if you decide to join membership, of course, and the links in the description. So today is questions and discussion. And chart reads. So I'm gonna start out with, do any of the lovely people in the chat have any questions about the Sagittarius new moon? Let me put it up for you. I'm in love with this new setup. I don't even know what song that is, but it's stuck in my head. And the do, I'm sure, is not going to help you all to figure out what song it is. So I'm not going to keep doing. There we are. Right? That's Sagittarius rising. Silly Susie. Boom. Okay. I wish I could, like, by the time I make this so that it's both of us, it just doesn't work. So at that point, I'd rather it be all nice and big, and you guys can see that. You know what I look like. So there we go. So do you all have any questions? There are certain rising signs when, like, you know, the way it's hitting your houses, you can use that Saturn to create the guidelines, because the new start with this Sagittarius new moon can create long-lasting effects with Saturn there. So while it may be a conflicting feeling right now, like, I want to do this, but I can't because this one thing won't work, or this one thing won't integrate, or this, you know, I want to sell these Amazon books, but Amazon, and, you know, I want to sell these. I want to go to the whatever the printer is through Amazon and print these little books, and then I want to sell them on TikTok, but I can't integrate those. Like, those don't work seamlessly. And then there'll be some reason why it'll lead you to something else to create a longer lasting than just, like, you know, 2 weeks of, like, that sold well. So Saturn can come in, and that squaring can give boundaries. The challenge that it's going to lay down is going to give boundaries that's also going to help create structure and wants to give you long lasting results for your new moon. You know, it's still a Sag moon. It's still a new moon run by by Jupiter. It's just that it's like taking a beautiful walk in the woods, but every once in a while you come across those bushes that have the little pricklies, and they grab your shirt or they get your hand. But if we know how to navigate that, or how to avoid that part of the path, if we have this knowledge ahead of time, that's why we get together, then we can navigate the Jupiterian new moon in a way that's a little less uncomfortable at times. Even though this astrology can be, there's a lot of, you know, there's a lot of questions, because Mars is about to go retrograde. The ruler of the moon is in mutual reception opposition with Mercury, both in retrograde. Uranus is in retrograde. And there's some, like I explained, just Taurus and Uranus itself is just juxtaposition and concepts of that planet and that sign. You know, so there's just a lot of, Uranus is the question mark all the time in the chart, whether it's in retrograde or not, because it's surprise. So, like, we can't always, even as astrologers, we can tell you the subject matters, the framing in which those surprises might come because of the planet that it's in, the planet it's talking to, or, you know, the house it's in. But, you know, still it's surprise. This is a cute little, it looks like a dandelion. Yeah, because I notice whenever I record something, the sound is so wonky. So I saw this when it was, like, on sale. It was literally like $7 a couple months ago, and then I forget to charge it in between. So this time it was charged. Is there any tendency for Aries rising for stark realizations or possibilities or hope for positive things? Hi, Anya. I started maybe like less than 20 minutes ago. Okay, let me try to understand the question better. Is there any tendency for Aries risings for stark realizations or new? Well, it's a new moon, so there's always new possibilities, right? It's a new start. And you can always hope for positive things. The thing is, Saturn wants you to put things into action, so it's not just hope. Do you want me to look at your chart with it? Today is for questions and chart reads. Okay, so for you, it's happening in your 8th. So you would watch the Taurus rising video, the Taurus rising segment, I should say, of the video from last night to get like more of the themes. But you know, this is a money access for you. So where Saturn is hanging out is the 12th. So concentrating, it's funny because sometimes Lori Rivers will have like a spontaneous Patreon only, live stream, and it's just a chat. There's no video, which is kind of cool about Patreon. But anyway, and we were talking about spiritual ways to like ground yourself, and physically, and how to marry those. And I talked about that last night a little bit. Like there are certain houses that are having this, that you're going to do better trying to physically ground. Pisces rising, for instance. If they are feeling the need for grounding, instead of just doing this in spiritual ways, that because Mercury is in retrograde, like they may have a little bit more trouble kind of feeling grounded spiritually through the clairs, but physically, right? But what we were talking about the other night in the Patreon is we were talking about craniosacral, myofascial release. Like, so to take what some people think is woo-woo, that can help you ground, can help you, because massage is not woo-woo. It's so pragmatic. It's so physical. It's so happening in the moment. It's tangible, right? And so this, because Saturn is happening in that 12th house for you, I would say finding the structure around what you want to do, whether that's the myofascial, or the last time we were together, we looked up the steps to getting all the licensing, certification, like what spaces, whatever, through the board, right, of the state you live in. That, now putting that all together and putting the time into that to work with the new moon is a way to create the new possibilities, so it feels more it's not just hope. So overworked. Okay, so let's always be, it feels like your dreams are getting crushed. Um, Hi, Maricela. Okay, so let me give some housekeeping because I didn't in the beginning because it was all um, gratitude, nerd, and astro levels. But so two things about chart reads. One, they are absolutely complimentary if you are in membership. Two, if you're not, then I can share a PayPal link for like $5 to go into a chart read for the new moon. As far as like looking for when somebody can like move, I talked about this in membership. I haven't talked about it in public. So when you're asking what's a good time for somebody to move, we have to look at like we should be looking at your solar return, we should be looking at your progress chart, we should be looking at the transits, and it would take a while to go through all of the transits in your chart to find that's more of a private session question. And so what I want to say is that especially when we're focusing on the Sagittarius new moon for this live, I can chart read for this Sagittarius new moon. But whenever I'm in, membership and I'm opening up to full chart reads, even if you're a gratitude member, it's too much because it would be unethical of me to glance at a chart and not sit there and take an hour and go through all of the transits when you're asking a timing question that requires, as a professional astrologer, for me to take some time, look at some transits, and go through your solar return, this, that, the other thing. Even if it's not a full hour, that's not something we can do in a live stream. But if you have another simple question, and if people want me to have my PayPal link up, let me know. If somebody who's not a gratitude nerd or astro member wants a reading, a chart read for the Sagittarius new moon. Okay. That's my bad one because I didn't say it in the beginning. Yeah, I can't. The new moon's not going to tell me whether it's a good time for you to move. You're still going to, and I'm just going to tell you, we're going to go from Mercury in retrograde, then Mars is going to go in retrograde while Mercury is in retrograde, and then when Mars comes out of retrograde and it's still stationing, Venus is stationing, and then that goes retrograde, and then Mercury goes retrograde within a few, like 10 days of that. So if you're trying to avoid, making the decision during a retrograde, we're not retrograde free of the personal planets. Because the outer planets are just, there's always going to be one in retrograde. There's always, because we're not really looking at that. But as far as the personal planets and how they're affecting your chart and everything, we're from now until I want to say that's April. We are in retrogrades. So that would be having to look at your chart and going through tons of transits. But if you have another question, if you have a question concerning the new moon. Okay. Adva, I'm going to tell you that Mars in retrograde is about, it's going to hit that 6 degrees before it goes retrograde. Not quite your 6 degrees and 36 minutes. It doesn't get, it's like 6 degrees and 14. you're going to be rethinking, reevaluating how you approach your own value, and also probably working with children. Like as much as you like working with children, you might be reevaluating how much that's giving back. And I think that you will be doing that over the next month or so. I'm just looking. Oh, that's good tea. The other thing is that opposition is, we have Jupiter in Gemini sitting on in retrograde, sitting on your Mercury in retrograde. Now it's kind of moving back the other way. It's separating, starting to. I mean, it's only 1 degree, so it's still very much sitting on top of reevaluating working with kids. So you might feel like, as much as you love it, you might pull away. You might end up pulling away doing the work with kids altogether in the next few months. That'll be up to you. That's your own contemplation. That's your own decision to come to. But the subject matter, I think, would be swirling around in your head and in your reality, and your, to have to make decisions. As far as the Jupiter on your Gemini, I would be very aware of being overstimulating, overworked, and overthinking. Yeah, it limits time with your business. The Jupiter on your Gemini can really, the Jupiter Gemini, Sagittarius Mercury, both in retrograde, mutual reception, and opposition, will give anybody overstimulation, to be honest. If you're feeling drained lately, believe it or not, it can be the moon phases. But I gotta tell you that Jupiter, there's so much activity, and it's mutable, and we can have a lot of we can have overthinking, anxiety, give ourselves nervous knots. We can get so far off in our heads and our thought that your feelings will follow. And so if our head and our over imagination starts to tell us a story of why somebody doesn't like us, of why something won't work out, or why we will do something badly, or why something in the collective is going to happen, or what someone's thinking of us, or what someone might do or might not do, or are we not feeling well, we can, in this kind of energy, we can tell ourselves a story very easily that our body, because the body keeps a score, that then your nervous system will, believe the brain's kind of in charge to some degree. We can't think our feelings, but our body is keeping the score. So the irony is that you need to make sure you pull yourself back, and have grounding exercises so you don't get overstimulated, because your position here is to help others with the grounding through the myofascial, through what you're able to do with those skills. So accurate. Okay. Don't get me wrong. It's pulling away. It's gonna relieve a little bit, but this is gonna come back when we have an opposition in retrograde, and both of them in retrograde. That means it's gonna come back into position direct again. So it already went once in opposition direct. Now it's in opposition in retrograde, and then they're both gonna finish their retrogrades, and at some point they're gonna come back together in direct. So if we can learn how to balance and how to survive this energy this time around, that means when it goes direct and it's a little stronger, we'll kind of know what our own redirects have to be, what our own grounding practices have to be. It's going to hit the when it goes direct, the opposition is going to be much closer to my Mercury in Gemini. And I already have that part mapped out on my calendar. Knowing ahead of time is so important, so that I don't spin out, that I don't burn out. Because burnout is another thing, because you can take on too many projects and then we burn out. We're supposed to be human beings, not human doings, but centuries of capitalism and terrible, horrible social constructs and words like lazy being thrown around and the cost of living has turned us into human doings to the point that our nervous systems, our bodies are not responding well. So we have so much chronic illness, and that's Pluto in Aquarius. There'll be rebellion and there'll be some unpleasantries while we're changing the system, because that's not just going to happen in a snap of fingers. But we're going to all work together as a collective. It's collaborative. It's Aquarius. It's 11th house energy to change the systems. But any role that you can play, and that goes for any of us, where we can help others to ground. We can stand in solidarity. We can teach them a skill. We can teach them a redirect. We can support them in any way. People who have all the money have a choice right now to be philanthropists. It's supporting each other. So, and you have a very specific role in supporting other people through the incredible work that you felt called to do, right? And you listened, you trusted your intuition, and now you do cranial sacral, and that's going to be integral for people, which makes you important. And standing in that knowing is going to help you stay grounded. I want you to remember that. Write it down if you have to. Make yourself a cute little sign at home. Make it your screensaver. Set an alarm on your phone so it goes off and says you are important. The work you are doing is helping to ground others. Take a minute to ground yourself. That is the Saturn part. That is the Saturn part squaring. Let you give gentle structure. It's in Pisces. Let it give you gentle structure. Right? Yeah. And there's your path. You're welcome. You're welcome. All right, let me get to these other questions. In the meanwhile, I'm going to paste a link. It's it's very interesting the way that it's happening and playing out. Let's go back to the main chart. I think Maricela also had a question, but let me just Sagittarius new moon. Here we go. Sorry, guys. Give me a second. Okay, there we go. Sorry, guys. I needed to fix something here. Okay, so I'm going to put that up. And that is for any non-members. If you want me to put in your chart and pull it up and look at it for you, it's just $5. And then if of course, you know, but I can answer any general questions you have, absolutely. And I can just do a whole other live where I'm just doing general chart reads, but we're just sticking to the Sagittarius new moon. Let me see. I know you put in a second question, Anya. The out of bounds part isn't going to contribute so much to the equation of whether your gifts are expanding. I mean, to be honest, you're somebody, I see you doing the work, right? I follow your Instagram and I catch up with you every once in a while. And so I see how much you are doing the work and how much you are putting the effort and meditation, and you're doing the moon rituals. So that is the Saturn at work in the square with this new moon. I think that the next time you're in a place, Anya, to be speaking to others, to be running a moon ritual, to be leading, right? And guiding through your spirit team or through your beliefs or whatever. I think the Uranus conjunction, it'll probably surprise you. I think that you will probably have something roll out of your mouth that you didn't even know that you had either acquired the knowledge through studying to be prepared ethically for the people who are looking to you to lead them, or you could have a channeled message that comes through so clearly. I think that's the surprise, to be honest. Also, again, I'm going to say the same thing with those kind of, without looking at the chart, with those kind of aspects in a transit, I I would also be very concerned, not concerned, but I would also be making sure you have some kind of grounding practice, Anya, because it could feel overwhelming. And I'm just gonna say this, like, everybody's discernment is important for now into the next 2 years, especially because some of the transits we have, and there's going to be a lot of gaslighting, but also there's going to be a lot of toxic spirituality, and there's going to be a lot of people who really believe that they are the next incarnation of someone or something, and that therefore that they have a higher power, or they are the person to lead. I saw this insane video saying that Western astrology no longer applies, and that anybody who's trying to guide or lead people with Western astrology is going against, like, all humanity, because only galactic astrology matters now. And this person thought that she was doing a good thing. This person was so sincere. She was almost tearful. She was emotional, that everybody has to stop, and that this is the only way forward, because she knows, because she was chosen. Nope. That's spiritual psychosis. That's spiritual hierarchy. So not only do we really, really need discernment, because it's about to be crazy. You know that ride, Disney World doesn't have it, Great Adventure doesn't have it, or Six Flags, but you know, like when you have like the smaller amusement parks, the local amusement parks, it's got like the knockoff Chuck E. Cheese characters, and you know, or the carnivals, and they have that ride that spins and goes like wobbly on you. That's what it's about to feel like, with information and misinformation and a whole bunch of other stuff. So, like, I don't want to scare people, but I want to be honest, and I want you to be prepared. So grounding practices are going to become more important, because telling you to use your discernment is great, right? And I'm certainly here for guidance, but you have to ground before you're even grounding, and then using your discernment is always going to be a better, safer practice than using your discernment if you yourself are not grounded, and without shame, and without finger pointing, and without labels. Everyone, including myself, are going to have moments of what the fuck is going on, what, you know, and needing to know what really resonates them. So ground, especially when you've got a lot of mutable placements. Anya, I know that you have less mutable than you do. You have a lot of cardinal like me. But when you have, you know, any mutable placements, but certainly a lot of mutable placements, you're going to want to have some grounding practices, because it's going to be so easy to get swayed, because you're going to want to be so plugged in to the right path, because it feels the division right now, the polarization right now is so palpable. You don't have to go looking far for it. And we're all kind of like, how did those people turn out like that? How do they not care about their fellow human? I'm not talking about everybody. I'm not talking about like red, blue, or whatever the politics are wherever you live. I'm talking about, there's a demographic. It's not half of every place that everyone lives, but there's a smaller demographic that should be smaller than it is, where people just don't. I mean, there are people fighting in states here against warming centers for the homeless that already exist. They are protesting to have warming centers in an abandoned building that's not doing their city any good. How do you get to be that human? Because kids are homeless too, right? So they are protesting keeping kids warm and not freezing to death through the harsh, cold winter that they are to expect. And there's not one or two crazies at a board meeting. There are a gaggle of people. How did they all convince each other that fighting against keeping human beings alive that are already suffering, they're already suffering from houselessness. And as we spoke about a couple of minutes ago, it doesn't take much to go from like, I have a roof over my head to I don't in today's world. But how does that happen? Is it half the population of every geographical location? No. But it's certainly more people than it should be. And so we're all aware and palpable and watching those people kind of be terrible humans and thinking like, how do you get that far? And so then picking the right path for us feels like a lifeline. And the information is crazy and it's rapid. And, again, listening to people who listen to how they speak. Are they working out of ego? You are all brilliant. You are all, if you can hear my voice, I don't care if you're watching this in the chat. I don't care if you're watching this 2 weeks later. If you're hearing my voice, you were probably drawn because you're either working on your gifts are coming kind of to the surface, or you're already into working on your gifts, but you are here because you're learning to trust your own gifts. And it's going to be challenging the next year and a half at least for us to trust a lot of information. So we have to trust ourselves, and we have to have grounding practices, and we have to have discernment. And in such mutable energy as this new moon is, it's a good time to let that Saturn gently and spiritually allow us to have, structure and grounding. Yeah, no, there are perfectly good people. That's an excellent point, Anya. She said sometimes it's hard for people with pure hearts to realize how much toxic spirituality and manipulation exist in these communities. Yeah. And they exist in spirit, if you've left organized church, right? If you've left an organized religion and you think, I'm just going to be spiritual now because that's toxic, they're saying, we're worshiping somebody that, and that's very, certainly I didn't make that up, but the point being that, in Christianity, they're not all Christians, but there are some churches and some congregations that are worshiping a person that they would not feed, they would not be kind to, and they would kick out of the country. And they are not practicing any of the things that being taught or what the practices are supposed to be. Right? It's more about control. So people might leave that, because certainly there's a bit of that if you go look at that community. China, remember the state. So because you should always be fact checking. Fact check me too. And if I'm wrong, tell me, because I don't want to be giving misinformation. I'm going to tell you the city and the state. TikTok is really the way to do this. Hold on. But you should be double checking, fact checking, making sure, we talked about that last night with all of these question marks, and especially with the Jupiter and Mercury in retrograde in a mutable sign in mutual reception. So it's strong, but it's tense. Go back to here. We should be making sure that we're getting our information either straight from the source. It's happening. It's on somebody's phone. The words are coming out of somebody's mouth. Or we want to make sure that where we get our news from, go look and see if they are listed as entertainment centers, outlets, or journalistic outlets. Yeah, it's in Utah. I'm trying to find the city, but it's in Utah. Kaysville, Kaysvilee. A group, and I'm saying at least 20, 30 people came to a county meeting to protest warming centers. But you should be double checking. You shouldn't say Susie said this is happening and then not double check me. This is what I mean. Like we're not listening to people who are saying like, you should believe me because I would never lie to you. No, go double check it, because if they won't lie to you, then they won't be offended if you go double check them. Right? If one of you said I spelt the name of the town wrong, I would be like, thank you for sharing. Right? And I'm not saying that I'm not without mistake, and I'm not without at moments working out of ego, out of defensiveness, because I'm trying to prove something, because I don't want to be, a part of my old self that I've healed. So now I'm trying to prove to myself, and I'm working out of ego. That's a very human thing. But you know what I'm talking about when people are like, only I can save all of these people kind of comments. You got a galactic chart? You got a galactic astro chart. I mean, look at it. But to say that that's the only way now, and you're hurting, and the emotion. If someone's getting mad, that's one thing. But if somebody feels like no one's listening to me and I'm trying to save the planet, they're probably, they could be a very good-hearted person, just like Anya said, but there's some kind of spiritual psychosis going on, or just some kind of mental crisis. There's tons of ways to heal. Vedic is an absolute reliable astrological practice. It's also very, very rooted in cultural and religious philosophy around the delineation of Vedic charts. I am not an Indian person. I did not grow up that way. I don't know that culture. I don't know, live and breathe that religion. To me, that would be inappropriate. And also, it's so different. You can't use them together. But that doesn't mean that if there's an ethical, legit Vedic practitioner, that they're not a kick-ass astrologer, right? But I know what's mine and what's not mine to practice. Yet no, galactic astrology is not. It's just like, the earth is splitting. There's been holes ripped in time. You're going to see a lot of stuff. And when I'm saying that, you can't see my face, but I'm shaking my head. No, you're going to hear a lot of stuff coming up. And it's going to be really easy to jump on that train. But again, you know, one of the things, hey Gemini love, one of the things that universe will give us is like signs, huge signs. And one of those huge signs is watching people protest people living through the night when it's freezing cold because they are houseless, because crisis has entered their life. Right? That's a sign to see people, like how easy it is to get, because that woman is emotional. She thinks what she's saying is right and righteous, but she's not caring about all the humans. She's worried that those homeless people are going to come rob her or whatever it is. It's more likely her rich neighbor's kid is going to rob her out of rebellion. But the homeless child is probably, not going to rob you. And if they do, it's going to be for food, which you should be giving anyway. Okay, you robbed me for food. But we can look around in any direction right now and see people who are so convinced. They are so convinced that their way is the only right way, and it's the righteous way. But you're not going to convince me that, like, just making sure all humans are well and they're not starving and they're not in pain and they're not freezing to death, it is not a good state of mind. But Anya, does that make sense? Like, right now you're grounding, and also then for anybody that's coming to your moon rituals and anything, you talking about grounding is going to be helpful to all of them. Fact and heart checking always. If it doesn't resonate, bye-bye. Yeah. If it doesn't resonate, and if it's not, if there's no grounds to stand on. Listen, if galactic astrology 20 years from now is more accurate for some reason, then I'll go take a look at it. But I'm not. I think it's a new thing, honestly. I also think starseeds is kind of spiritual hierarchy. Sorry. This is probably this is like a spiritual and like collective and spiritual and what's going on now kind of discussion, but it does refer to the Sag new moon because there's a lot of mutable energy. And Saturn is asking you to put boundaries within that. Yeah, there's no judgment. Why would you not? If somebody's like, ooh, galactic astrology, oh, looks cool. But when labels start going on it. Yeah, I mean, if you got a chart, you got a chart. There's no big deal in that. What I'm trying to point out is the spiritual psychosis of somebody saying that you're hurting all of these people or hurting all of the people. And they're using the reason that you're hearing about galactic astrology right now is because they're using the election as to why Western astrology no longer works, which is insane. Okay, Maricela. You want me to just take a look at your chart? Does anybody else want me that's in membership? And also there's $5. There's a link. I should probably put the link, and I should probably, let's see if I can do this. Okay. Here we go. I'm glad this is feeling like calming energy. Good, good. Okay. Reading comments. If you're just happening upon us, welcome in. We're talking about the Sag new moon. You know, and this energy will partially culminate. It'll come to a crest at the Sag full moon, which will be in June. But you know, the full cycle is this time right before the new Sag moon next year. And I think we're going to see this kind of question mark energy play out over the next year. If anybody knows what song that is, it's driving me crazy. It's stuck in my head, just that one part. And it sounds like a wonky keyboard or something. Okay. Maricela. You're having this in your 9th house. You're having this in your 9th house, my love. Because your chart is reading almost like an Aries rising because you're the degrees before the new moon. So if you are less than 9 degrees and 33 minutes in your rising sign, you're going to be the sign after. You're going to read, you're going to watch that. So you should be looking at the Aries rising portion. Happening in your 9th house, and Saturn is hanging out in your first. You know, this is rules, putting in the authority. You are the authority, gentle authority, but it's time for you to be establishing, you know, boundaries about you and how you also let people approach you and how you know, it's so funny because I have a whole bunch of stuff to post on Instagram, but one of them is like what you allow will continue. I've literally one time lost a friend over saying that because they kept coming to me with something that a partner kept doing. And of course I had empathy and hugs and cake and, you know, bonding girl time for them. But at some point, literally while sitting on the couch, after feeding them and letting them cry and everything else, then I said to them, you know, at some point we have to look at what you allow will continue. Keep wanting him to change. You keep wanting him to, you keep thinking that things that you could do could make up for these imaginary holes that you're creating in your relationship, that he has to go find, you know, that satiation somewhere else because you aren't coming to the plate with it. And I wanted them to not feel like they were less than, and that's why that person was straying. So I said, what you allow will continue. And that was the end of the friendship. So it seems like a very simple saying, but it is, it's a big practice to adopt. You know, the adoption of other people's opinions of me are none of my business is a really easy thing to say, and it's a sassy thing to say, and it's like a clever thing to say. But practicing that to where you really aren't affected, where you don't care and where you don't react, and you don't let it hold you back, and you don't not do things because you're worried what other people will think. That's a whole different. Saying it is one thing. Getting it into practice where it no longer disrupts your nervous system or no longer disrupts your ambitions or your satiation of your soul, that's when it is fully a mastered practice. What you will allow will continue is just like that. And universe will send us people to, universe will absolutely send us people to help us learn to practice it. And for Pisces and mutable signs, the what you allow will continue is a tough one. They might care less about what other people think of them, but the standing in front of somebody and saying, like, this is no longer happening. You cannot treat me like that. You cannot speak to me like that. You can tease me, but not about my career. I just shared a trauma with you, and your reaction was, how did that affect you? Or what do I think of you because you didn't know? Or, well, do you think I'm somebody you can't trust? Right? Watching people and then reassuring them, like, no, I trust you. It's not about that. And then veering from the conversation where you were trying to be vulnerable and share a trauma to now comforting this other person, right, is something that you might experience in conversations and relationships. And how often do you just totally cut the conversation off and say, I just shared a trauma with you, and you are in your own ego talking about, well, how does this affect me? That's much harder for somebody with a lot of mutable, or especially like Pisces. And the exception to that is it's also a little hard for Libra energy for that. So what you will allow will continue is kind of, to me, the theme of this, how it's playing out in your chart and because of your placements. So this might be universe's opportunity, because every energetic experience, every spiritual experience, every psychic experience, and every astrological transit is an opportunity for us to meet that energy and evolve. That's why my name is Susie Evolutionary. It's not just because of the evolutionary astrology. I believe that we are here to have the experiences, not to have our shit crushed, or not to be like, I can't, I'm not supposed to have a good life, because it is always an opportunity. Safely, that's going to mean something different to every people. And there are some people getting bombarded by external circumstances right now. And it doesn't make them an intentional victim. They really are victimized by circumstances. And there are whole demographics that are constantly victimized by external circumstances and oppression, right? Like, that's a real thing. And also, not but, and also, we can move into a space of how can we change this cycle? Venus in your 11th house means there's community support available to you, but the Uranus in the 3rd is you could surprise yourself by something that comes out of your mouth, as far as putting down the boundary. Like, if somebody says something to you out of pocket, passive aggressive, you might giggle at them or just like nod your head, and when then they walk away, go tell a close friend, like, can you believe what they just said? But this energy invites you to move into saying like, why did you think it was okay to say that to me? Or like, yeah, I don't think that's funny. Right? Because one is, I would never participate in that conversation. And the other is letting that person know, I'm not the person you should come to and say these things. So Uranus is giving you the opportunity, and you will have more people that will stand with you in saying no to those few people that are, as I like to say, out of pocket. Yeah. It's a hard one. It seems so simple. What I allow will continue. Right? And some people, like I said, I lost a friend over it because what she heard when I said that was, you asked for all of this. You asked to be cheated on. And that wasn't what I was saying. I was saying nothing that she did. No one should cheat on you. And certainly she shouldn't, because she was wonderful, and I wouldn't have been friends with her if I didn't think she was wonderful and beautiful and amazing and smart and funny and loving and giving and all of that. What I was saying is, this is about the 5th time you've forgiven him. And we've gone over like what happened with his mom, what happened with the last girlfriend, why he has trust issues, right? Why he has never had unconditional love, so you're going to provide that. And at some point it comes to what that person heard was, I don't want to listen to this anymore. I don't want to comfort you anymore. You're asking for this, right? So simple but radical. It feels radical to hear when we are afraid of confrontation or afraid of any kind of accountability for the allowing part. And it feels radical to practice, even if we're willing to say, yeah, no, that makes sense. It feels radical to practice until you master it. This is one that because I promise you, the only people that it doesn't feel radical to is somebody who came in this world not allowing shit. Not allowing, like, well, the one that everybody calls a bitch, right? The person that's like, yeah, don't talk to me like that. Don't say that to me. I don't want to talk to you. Right? Kids can sometimes like, oh, kids say the damnedest thing. And what do? We correct them and tell them that's rude. As a society, we have to stop doing that. We have to teach our kids to be like, if somebody says something to you that you feel uncomfortable with, tell them, I don't like that. I don't think you should say that. And not then tell them that they're being rude because they said it to an adult. Kids are clocking people without too much social construct influence yet. That's what's happening. Trust kids and dogs. We say that, but then we go take our dogs to obedience school and tell our kids they're rude. Hey, Venus energy. Yes, we're talking about the Sag moon and all of the principles that come with it. This is why we can go through the houses, and even though I did that extensively, but look how much is coming out of just the discussion of the energies and how they affect us in real life, how they play out in our lives, how they subtly and subconsciously play into our daily life, and the projection of what that can look like, right? And what we have to deconstruct, and what universe is giving us an astrological and energetic opportunity to reevaluate, especially with all these retrogrades. You did see star seed stuff is blended in the galactic astrology. Yeah, I mean, I'm always big in telling people, like, let's not speak in definitives, right? Because that sometimes speaking in definitives can sometimes hold us back. However, so I'm not going to speak in the definitive that I think galactic astrology is all kind of like new age bullshit and spiritual hierarchy. Because I haven't studied it enough. I haven't gone back to its origins. I haven't, you can see Western astrology being used as bullshit when you see people saying, like, oh, this sun sign is always going to be like this, and as Cancers are crybabies, and Scorpios are all bad people, right? Like, right? We see, so anybody with very little knowledge can take any tool, divination, skill, right? Because like real professional astrologers that have been doing this a very long time, it's a lot of fucking math, it's a lot of fucking research. You have to be smart. And you have to have a natural aptitude for it to all it's like, beautiful mind, goodwill hunting math at times. And there's layers and layers, and you have to be doing it a decent amount of time, or eat, sleep, and breathe it, and study from people who have been doing it for a very long time and who have mastered it to do it correctly, right? So we can also see, maybe we're only seeing galactic astrology stuff from people who are also, the kind of people, the same kind of people that represent Western astrology very, very poorly. But so far, from what I've seen, it's all kind of bullshit. It's all like spiritual. But I don't want to say that definitively because maybe it's a real amazing thing. And I just don't know enough about it, but that's not, and everything with my Pluto on my ascendant is saying it's bullshit. But that's not fact based, that's intuition based. So I will be honest and say that. Shauna, did you have any questions before I pull up Liz's chart? Or while I'm pulling up Liz's chart, I should say. I'm using the astrology software on a new computer, Liz, so give me a second to grab your put your info on here. Yeah, I don't have you on here. I have it though. I have it in my I have it in the spreadsheet of the members. You're going to do 22nd, right? Let me double check here. Did I miss any other questions besides before Liz came in? You guys let me know. And Liz, that's 10:25 at night, right? You let me know if I got that right. You're welcome, Maricela. I know it's supposed to be like Maricela, but oh, you posted it. Could you repost it? I'm so sorry. Let me see if I could find you. But while I look, if you could repost it, that would be amazing. Hannah. New moon in your 9th house. Got it. Close to your MC, and I just started your life project a few weeks ago. Can I? Hi. New moon. Hannah, do you have the time to let me do Liz first, and then I'll put your info in? If you don't, because you've been here a while, if you need to go, then let me know, because fair is fair. I missed your question. Let me just put your info in quick. Trying to find it on the sheet. Liz, go ahead, ask your question, and Hannah, if you don't mind putting it in, I know we have it. Here we are. Who are you between? Because then that helps me to find people. Okay. September 13th, Stockholm, Sweden, right? Hey, anybody, if you're just joining us, welcome in. We are talking about the Sagittarius new moon and doing chart reads for the new moon. How many, like, we have like, do we have September 9th, 10th, 12th? And we have a lot of Virgos in here. See, it's funny how different communities will collect a lot of placements. And what year are we? Oh gosh, you're just in the middle of your Uranus opposition, aren't you? Or getting towards the end of it. We have, is that 6:05 at night? Yes, 6:05. I think Liz bounced in and bounced out. Venus energy, are you still? Oh, here you are. You don't have a specific question? Did I get the time right for you? Was it 10 at night? Venus energy? Let me know. So I'll read Hannah first. Her question was first. And then just do me a favor and double check me that I have your time right as 10:25 at night, or is it 8:25 at night? I feel like it's 8:25. Okay, it is 8:25. Okay, let me just correct that. I'm going to read Hannah real quick because she's been waiting. Okay. I was going to say, remember your stuff all being in the 6th house. All right, Hannah. This is happening in your 9th house. You know, it's so interesting when you get somebody from Sweden. The houses are the 1st and the 7th are always going to be ginormous. So you can't really go by the rising sign. So this is happening for you. You're an Aquarius rising, but it's almost happening for you the way an Aries rising is. So if you wanted to listen to the video I did last night, you would listen to the Aries rising for for the new moon section. And then when I'm talking about the Jupiter Gemini opposition specifically, because I take a couple of minutes for each house and talk about what the Jupiter Gemini opposition, because that's going to hit a couple of times. When I am talking about that, I'm also talking about like in the houses. And I do obviously like the new moon in the house. And then I also cover the Jupiter and Gemini. So oddly enough, as an Aquarius rising, because this is what I talk about, like it's just whatever house it's going to be in. You're going to listen to the Aries rising when I'm talking about the new moon. But when I'm talking about the Jupiter, Mercury, mutual reception, opposition, both in retrograde, that you're going to listen to the Pisces rising for. Okay, so you're an Aquarius rising, you're listening to the Pisces rising for the Jupiter Gemini opposition, the Jupiter Mercury opposition, and you're going to listen to Aries rising for the new moon. And now we're going to talk about how it looks in your chart specifically, but I just wanted to go over that and just say, you know, her house placement looks like this because Sweden is very, very north. And so the more north you are or the more south you are from the equator, the houses become a little less even. But as you all know, we have May and we have Annika in our community. And I mean, I've been doing private readings for Annika. Always gets like if I do a special, she'll always grab like 6 months at a time. So I meet with Annika once a month, and the predictions, even when she said no, because she'll tell you, no, that's not happening. And then it happens, right? So like, I still believe, I'm not saying that about my prowess as an astrologer. I'm saying that some people would move off Placidus when they get the houses being this distorted, right? This uneven. And then they would move to a different house system for people who live so far north or south of the equator. But the thing is that for years, I have been predicting for Annika, whose chart looks almost exactly like this, and it's always right. Like I've predicted, I'll let her share the next time she's in the community, but I mean, the last time we got together, also, it was a big thing that I had said, I kind of feel like this is coming in, and it's through the astrology. It's not just through the metaphysical gifts, it's through the astrology. So I find her chart to still be very accurate with these wonky. And I just wanted to talk about that because there are questions sometimes when people see a house, like, would you switch house systems? And the reason why no is because now, years in practice, I find that it's still very, very accurate. Okay. Ooh, the Mars. This is very interesting for that's a whole other, we'll save that for like general how to make sure the next time I do like a general questions one that you're there. And if you are somebody who's listening to this and you are evolutionary membership, which is like the $2.99 a month, or an Astro, and I'm doing like a just nerds and gratitude members chart reads, and you would rather be included and like pay $5 extra for the chart read, or $10 would be what's appropriate considering what they pay monthly. You would rather be included in that and then, pay the difference. Let me know if that's something you guys want me to do, is like open up the general chart reads up to the other members if you are willing to, like, once in a blue moon when you have an important question. Have the option to do a $10 PayPal take $10 pay rather than pay for a 15-minute, which that makes more sense to just pay, because if you're already paying membership, just pay $10 once in a while. So you guys members, let me know if that's something you want me to do, is open that general one, because we have one every month. It's the 4th weekend where it's just questions. And last time it was really quick because, there's only like 14 people, I think, between those two levels. So if you want me to open it up and just give like a $5 or a $10, depending on what level you're at, just leave me a comment on, not in here, not in the chat, on the community post about the opening this up to the live. Or maybe I'll just put up a post. Yeah, that's going to be significant for you. We're going to stick to the Sagittarius moon. But also if you want to grab an appointment, that's going to be very, very significant for you. Because it's going to move into your 6th house. And then when it hits direct again, that's going to be significant, but that's something that's going to play out over the next couple of months. All right, let's look at the new moon. Are we doing another yes or no live? We should do that. We should. I really definitely need a moderator. Let me know. Like, you could message me, Shauna. If you're available for that, I would love to do that. Tomorrow I have all 12 signs, and then I have a very important business meeting like promptly after. So tomorrow's probably not the day for it, but maybe like later today. I also have another session when this is done. I need a heavy I need a, hi Nikki, did you just open the door? I definitely need a designated moderator when I do those, though. This is happening. Saturn is on your moon in the 1st house, Hannah. I'm looking at everything else. So while the energy is squaring, it's not squaring in house. So this is really interesting. And it's trining your Mars. It's actually more closely trining your Mars than, say, the transit of it is. So there's unrestricted flow to the impetus. I'd be interesting to know what's going on in any kind of like partnership for you. I mean, partnership, collaboration is such a huge theme in this lifetime for you. Are you expanding, getting any kind of education certifications right now? You just started your life project, you said, right? How you align it with this project or your purpose. A little bit is what I talked about with Maricela, like the what you allow will continue. Definitely having gentle boundaries, but having boundaries on how you let people approach you in collaborations. Like it's kind of time to walk into that boss energy and be okay with authority in all ways. Be okay with authority, and that you are the authority. I wonder if there's been issues with people feeling too authoritative over you in a control way, or in a way that made you feel less than, or made you question yourself. Early on in life. And so now um, the opportunity now is to kind of reacquaint yourself with how you feel around authority. If you've ever been a boss, but you wanted to be the nice boss because you've had some really shitty bosses, and then you nice bossed yourself too close to the sun, you nice authoritarian yourself too close to the sun, and then there wasn't enough respect. It's You've got all the ideas, and you've done all the research for sure. Is there somebody that's helping you? Is there somebody that's helping you? Yeah. But like pragmatically, right? So like here's the thing. We can all have or feel shifts or have, the encounters or whatever else, but um then we have to put things into motion to support the shifts, support the inner growth, right? And that is what Saturn is trying to do for us here. And so I'm wondering two things. One, if you have anybody trying to help you right now. And I almost want to use help in air quotes. Is there anybody trying to like help assist you or do this with you, or having a lot of ideas? let me know. I think we have a bit of a delay here. Thank you for everybody being patient with me, as sometimes I'm silent or waiting to get answers to the questions, because it's not their fault. They're not being slow. There's just always such a delay. Your partner is listening but not active and helping. Okay, I'm gonna tell you. Sorry, those noises were because Nikki, who's probably blocking my microphone right now, decided he wanted to come up. Oh, okay, there we go. I want you to just be aware. You may have someone who presents as friend or well-meaning person. If they're not actively helping you, they might have a lot of opinions. Don't let them talk you out. I see somebody that could possibly be a little passive-aggressive, maybe out of jealousy. Like, oh, that's cute. Like, this is your life's work and you're all excited about it. And they're like, oh, that's so sweet. That's so cute. No one telling you your no one telling you that your life's work or what you're doing for a career or a calling should be telling you it's sweet or cute. There's something here. I'm just gonna say you're on path, right? Making sure you're in the boss energy and that you're not worried about being the nice boss or the nice authoritarian. Even if it comes to like where you said you're talking about teaching to create your best life, right? If you're doing some kind of coaching, making sure that you're in command of the room and not someone else at this time that's trying to usurp or kind of distract or out of jealousy, or out of wishing, even if they don't know it's jealousy, even if they think that it's like wishing that they were running it, like, oh, I've had these ideas too, or whatever. Just careful. There's someone there that's going to present as friend. Now, that sounds almost like a side note to what you're asking, but it's not, because I believe that this is your astrological energetic opportunity to step into the firm boundaries of how you are to be treated, received, and how you show up. Especially on that beautiful Pisces moon in the first house, which I know can be, people can sometimes see you as too nice, see you as so gentle, right? That they're not afraid of like crossing the line or pissing you off. Now, you've got other things in your chart that help to safeguard your Pisces moon. But this is just an astrological and energetic opportunity for you to step into your, I don't know what you're saying, Shauna. Does this have to do with, I'm smiling, you can't see me. I'm just not sure if you're commenting towards. Just be careful, especially because the Mars also it's making a sextile to your Libra Mercury, which is interesting. That's a nice aspect. You may have more people that come into the path. Some people are going to be really supportive and help you on the path, and are going to be, you're going to be facilitating learning for some people, and some, and you could have one or two that help facilitate learning for you and growth and expansion for you. And also your discernment and your grounding, especially as the Pisces moon is everything right now. When I talked about discernment and grounding before, hey Nikki, when I talked about grounding and discernment before, that is going to extra apply to you, because and stepping in with an authority, and the what you allow will continue, all of that energy really applies here, because you are going to have a mix of, you know, supportive energy that comes in. I mean, it could be with Venus squaring your Pluto. There's going to be a challenge for you to transform in how you allow partnerships and collaborations, whether that's professional, personal, friendship, whatever. That's big, and that's going to be, you know, over the next week or so for you, my love. So you have people that are going to help you and expand your ideas, expand your, like, beautiful collaboration. And there's also going to be other people that are just going to wish that they did it, or that they had the courage to do it, and they might passive aggressively sabotage, even if they don't know that they're doing it, but they think that they're right. Kind of like when we talked about before, like, there are people who are sanctimonious and so vehement that they are right, and not wanting human beings to be warm in the middle of the night in a freezing cold climate. Like, there's somebody who's going to think that they're right and almost think that they're helping you, because they might try to fuck with your confidence, if I'm being honest. And again, sometimes when people are doing that, it's not openly nefarious. It's not openly, it's subtle, and it's frenemy energy, right? But there is also somebody that can be helping you. So grounding and discernment, especially for a Pisces moon, this exactly is what you've been feeling. People are reacting to your new way of doing things, and they need to let some go in the process. Yeah. And it's going to be not obvious. I wish I could tell you, my love, that it was going to be obvious. But there are going to be people who are put here to help you at this time. And there are going to be people who are put here to test whether you can stand 10 toes, stand on own business. Saying like, while I appreciate all this feedback, I've set myself up with experts in the field. I'm just going to give you an example sentence. While I appreciate that you only want the best for me, and for some people that's absolute bullshit, but while I appreciate that you have the best intentions, you could say that, I set myself up. Don't say I've been so lucky. Don't make it like it's chance, right? Sometimes there are signs like Pisces moon, or even the Aquarius rising, because they don't need to really sit in a whole lot of ego. Your Libra Mercury is probably very kind when it speaks. Your Virgo is, it's very ethical. But what I would suggest you say, and again, try not to pepper it with words like, I've been so lucky, I've been so fortunate, because it takes away the credit for your skill level. It takes away the credit for your research, which I know you've done. So again, you're going to say something like, while I appreciate that you have the best intentions, I have aligned myself and connected myself with experts in this field. I have excellent mentors. And so I would love for us to spend our time on other conversation, because I am streamlined to only get influence and advice. from people who have been, you know, successful, and they're already mastered what I'm stepping into. Because that's a lot easier than being like, I feel like you're being passive aggressive right now. Like, I feel like, why can't you just let me have this moment, right? You're never going to get anywhere with that. While I appreciate you have the best intentions, I have purposely aligned myself with masters and experts in the field that I am currently practicing in. And so, to make sure that I keep consistent, I am only aligning myself and listening to advice and guidance from those sources. Yeah, exactly. You put too much effort in to give it to luck. But sometimes when we're trying to be polite and we're trying to be non-confrontational, we pepper what we really want to say with non-confrontational words like, oh, I've been so lucky, or like, oh, you're so sweet, and I know that you just love me. And no, well, I know you have the best intentions, because people often think that they do, right? So that will align with them, and they'll be open to hearing what you have to say next. I have purposely aligned myself and are plugged into masters and experts of the field that I am currently practicing in now. And to keep my message and my information consistent, I've decided I'm only going to take advice and guidance from people who are mastering A, B, and C. And I would rather that we spend the time that we have talking about all the other things there are to talk about in life. And I appreciate you. End it with I appreciate you. Okay. There are some people that are really gonna help you expand your ideas. And also, there are so many of you guys having it in the 9th house. What was the Cancer, Libra, Gemini, Virgo, Scorpio? I want to make sure I'm not missing, that I'm helpful. Hope you're well, Nikki. All right, let me pull up Liz's chart. Liz, you're still here? I hope that was helpful. I love hearing like, yes. Okay, good. This is why we do this. Wait, no, whatever you're asking, the answer is no. Sorry, I was talking to the astrology software. Okay. Liz, this is happening in your 8th. So just happening inside your 8th. And it's in an application trine to your moon in the 4th. Looking. Liz, you're going to be careful, extra careful. I know it's a long-term transit, so, but we're going to be careful for the next couple of years, just about safety, clumsy. Absolutely, Shauna, I will absolutely make sure there's time. Is Liz still here? Let me know if you're here, Liz, because I'd love to ask a question. There's definitely an opportunity here to have something shared with mom that kind of grows both of you. There's also opportunity if there's been any kind of difference of like opinion about like where you're going with your life or what you're doing, or if you've changed course and people thinking like, wow, what are you doing? That have like, you know, your parents or somebody you would look to as like an elder or a contributor to like who you are now, that they were a strong influence on you as a child, that would be older than you. There could be a repair or like an understanding or a conversation that helps the understanding of why you're kind of changing course a little bit. It's very interesting. You're going to have South Node moving over your sun. Careful of people you meet around that time. They could pull you backwards instead of letting you move forward. Not everyone, but you could also have a surprise money coming in, or like a raise, honestly. You could have surprise raise at your job. Promotion available. I know you didn't have a specific question. And Saturn is helping you through community and technology right now. That's where you're sourcing for the boundaries and the structure for this. But there could be secrets shared and a closeness achieved. I will say that in this chart. Hop back into the chart, to the chat if you can, or if somebody sees Liz, let her know that we read her chart, so she can rewind a little bit this way if she has questions. I don't think I meet with Juan this Monday. I think I meet with him next Monday. But Juan, absolutely, if you have a question. But Shauna, go ahead, shoot, my love. I would be happy. I agree, Shauna. I think good things are happening for Hannah. What are you doing, you crazy cat? See, now you're also having it in your 9th, but you're having the Pisces rising reading is correct for the Jupiter Mercury opposition for you, Shauna, but you're actually having the new moon like an Aries rising read, or the Aries rising. I will go. I always get reminded that I really should be like, you know, this house or possible like Aries rising or Or I should start my lunation videos saying that. I feel like I do, but maybe not enough. Also, boss energy. Also, what you allow will continue. Also, so you, Hannah, and Marcella are all having Saturn in the first squaring this new moon. So, like, there's so much learning and expansion and making sure that you're the authority in this journey, that you're, whatever new path, whatever new starts, whatever new expansion that you're having, you have to step in as a gentle, you can still be a gentle authority, but you have to be the authority. It's a little bit boss energy, right? So like, I think you're ready to really start moving into the because you're so talented with the event charts, and you have the ability to help people. We have to remember too that the Venus Uranus square is, or trine rather, is also kind of forming a grand trine with your moon in that eighth, and a little bit with Pluto there. So events with neighbors, siblings, and just your own thoughts, communication, the things that come out of your mouth, and your early teachings. This doesn't really necessarily, in this kind of grand trine scheme of things with the moon here and Pluto, it doesn't necessarily have to do with siblings. It's there's love for you in the community. There's value, and there's possible monetary gain out through community, through your computer, through technology, and creating community, and also events as of late, but especially over this weekend, could also help kind of transform your emotions, and who you value, and who you allow yourself to label community. I don't know why I'm hearing lean with it, rock with it. But if I don't know if that holds significant value to you, Shauna, it would be you that all of a sudden I would get a music download. I'm hearing the high pitched keyboard before the beginning of it. Like lean with it, or rock, like that part, not the whole rest of the lyrics, but I keep hearing that over and over again the second I opened your chart. So I don't know what significance that has, or a time in your life, but that is definitely a message for you, because lean with it, rock with it has no correlation with the Sagittarius moon. Yeah, because there's real kind of destined stuff happening for you in the spring. And there's a lot of restructuring your own self refinement, your own evolution, uh, from now until the spring. I feel like this new moon for you is really to step into the authority role. And it'll feel a little challenging. Grounding, of course, is going to be really, really important for you, my love. just because Pisces rising. Mercury in retrograde on your south node. Careful about oversharing in any kind of like work capacity, but also you need to grow more confidence in what you have to say, as far as like your calling. I mean, this between the new moon and the Sag Jupiter opposition, they're sandwiching your MC and they're sitting on your south node. So and I think we talked about this in a private conversation about like not using definitives of like, oh, I could never do this. So there are possibly antiquated beliefs about, you know, what you're capable of or what future looks like or what career could be, fully, and letting other people see you, because the 10th house, right, I talk about is like climbing a mountain, climbing a jagged mountain, in extreme circumstances, in a glass atrium with an audience, right? Like people are watching, and it's the people are watching that doesn't feel comfortable. And so we have an opportunity right now to like revamp our language and our thoughts around that not feeling comfortable. Because the retrograde on the south node actually can create a really good opportunity to re-advise, there's a word, it's just not coming. Reassess how we feel about the discomfort, or how we know the discomfort to be who we are. Like, oh, I'm not comfortable doing that. That's just who I am, kind of thing. So it's like giving you this great big opportunity, and also learning and expanding. So like the information that's coming in. The information that's coming in that 9th house, right? So I'm always talking about the 9th house is like this. It's not just, it doesn't matter if your house is that big. The 9th house is like this because it wants to expand. It wants to bring in information, spirituality from source, from mentors, from other cultures, all of that, right? So like we have the new moon happening there for you. So like all of this information, and because you're psychic as fuck, all of this information and the source, whether it be spiritual mentors, like, you know, Val or whoever, coming in, you're so armed with the information that you need. And if you stand on business as the authority of like, no, yeah, that is, I've collected all this information, right? So that is really supportive of your chart, of your spirit team right now, so that while you're experiencing the discomfort, in that south node in the 10th house, like I don't really want to be seen professionally. I would rather be on the sidelines, or it's allowing you to reevaluate. Now, am I saying that you should have your own TV show and have, you know, be Big Brother and have cameras follow you around and have no privacy and have everybody watching you all the time, or be like, I'm the utmost authority on this, everybody watch me, come see how good I look? No. But what I'm saying is that there is a sweet spot, right? That can look uncomfortable, like, oh my god, Mercury retrograde right on top of my south node in the 10th house, where it's like public reputation and I don't get privacy, right? But what it's doing is it's creating this space where you could feel comfortable. Like I was talking about Patreon, and so I know I say her name ad nauseum. I could have a jar for every time I say her name. But Lori wears glasses. Lori is actually like considered legally blind. And so when she reads comments, when she's reading her text, she has her phone literally right here to one eye. And so she hates the big screen. She hates trying to read the comments. It's like, that's hard for her. When she does a Patreon chat, or when she does her podcast, which is doing so well, there's no visual, there's no video. It also allows, when she's doing the Patreon chat, to like have her phone right up and she can respond much quicker, better. And I talked about that before, that like with Patreon, it's an audio chat. It's a live stream audio. And I feel like that's something maybe that you should look at if you're going to start something. Do you want to just start it off with like a Patreon or a podcast, where there's a sweet spot between your beliefs, your understanding, your greater knowledge, you've got Jupiter in Sag and Uranus in Sag in the 9th house. So that gives you a lot of Sagittarius energy. And as you know, you have a lot of Sagittarius energy tends to show up as people in your life. You feel like you got a second reading, right? Because you guys both, you Pisces risings are so close to each other. And Sagittarius energy comes to you. But so when I was talking yesterday about Sagittarius energy, they are philosophical nomads. They are informational nomads. Now, whether you are actually traveling, right? You know some Sages that have like traveled the world and go, right? But you still have that abundance of, especially Jupiter in Sag in the 9th house is as, is as Sagittarius as it gets, regardless of the fact that you don't have Sun, Moon, or Rising in Sag. You are going to, even if you stay put, right, where you've stayed in your state, and I think currently you're in your hometown, although you have, wandered outside your hometown for times in your life. But you will then go explore the world through your community, through your computer, through books, through learning. You go explore the world and expand your knowledge through source. So you are still a nomad, but you are just using different modalities, using different vehicles to be nomadic about your philosophical, spiritual, and informational expansion. Does that make sense? Yeah, I'm saying, like, I wish I had a jar that $5 magically appeared every time I said her name. So, in the same way that you're seeking information, you're not, like, interfacing, right? Even when you and I have sessions or appointments or any kind of, gathering or speaking about your astrology or anything like that, we're not face to face. It's always just audio. So like knowing that about yourself, right? And your comfort, and then still moving forward with a sweet spot. I mean, true crime is a big, big thing right now. Would you want to consider starting a podcast and blending the true crime and astrology? And making it, just looking at it as maybe like a little hobby, but having a space where you can be in authority, right? And other people would probably really benefit from what you have to say, and then let it move into whatever it needs to move into slowly, and not be like, when I go into professional event astrology that helps people find missing people or whatever it is, because like look at your chart, right? Because that feels like a big responsibility, right? There's a point of astrology where we can go on and TikToks and be like, Scorpio moon that, and Gemini sun that, and Aquarius Mercury this, right? And we can like wax philosophical about one placement on somebody. That's really easy. And then like, make a funny video or use a trending sound. That's very different from being like, I'm going to step into astrology and help find people. That's a fucking big deal. That's a big spiritual responsibility. That is a big pragmatic responsibility. And between your spiritual stuff and the fact that you are a fucking Virgo with a Virgo Mercury, that and a South Node in the 10th house, that could all feel like, I know I have this calling, but it feels really intimidating to say like, I can do this. And I know that you can. But to stand in front of a group of people, to climb that jagged mountain in the glass atrium with an audience, that feels different, right? Right. And we can all tell you you're gorgeous 6 times till next Tuesday, and it won't make your insecurities of being on camera go away. And that's okay. And you can have those, right? No one's telling you should just get over them. And I've had a similar journey, believe it or not. If you ever told me 5-6 years ago, let alone 10, 20, 15, that I would ever put myself on camera, and sometimes when I've almost like rolled out of bed, as I slept, I was up too late last night and I slept in, and I did not want to get out of bed because it was freezing, right? If you ever told me that I would come on here like this and be on all the time, and that I would have TikToks in the middle of the night where I look like Lindsay Lohan and Gary Busey had a baby and that baby had a mugshot and I'm in a robe with no makeup and my hair is crazy, I would have told you no, right? So like, do I believe that journey can be had? Yeah, but maybe that's not on, maybe that's not on path for you, or maybe that's just something you don't have to get over. But think about the popularity of podcasts, and think about the popularity of true crime right now. Think about the popularity of astrology. The world has built you like one of those candy bowls. When like, hi, I'm Shauna and I brought the peanut M&Ms. Hi, I'm Susie and I brought the Skittles, right? Like universe has been like, Shauna, here's all your gifts. Shauna, here's your ability to assess information as a Virgo. Shauna, here is your obsession, right? Your focus, your expansion of the world through all of this education that you cannot get enough of, right? That fascinates you, that we gave you a love of. Shauna, here is society fiending for true crime. Shauna, here's society fiending for astrology. Shauna, here's society fiending and absorbing podcasts more than anything. You know why? Because people can drive and listen to a podcast. People can do their dishes and listen to a podcast. They don't feel the need to come look at a screen, right? It's convenient. Podcasts are so you have this bowl of candy, and universe is like, have the bowl of candy. And your South Node in Sag, right? And the Pisces rising. And your life experience thus far. And the Pluto moon in the 8th house. May want to be like, no thanks, I'm dieting. No candy for me. Right? But there's a sweet spot somewhere. There's the sweet spot somewhere for you to just step into. And if there's 5 gazillion fucking podcasts right now. You can spit in any direction and hit a podcast. And I talked about it yesterday. There is if I can re-find the video, I will send it to you through TikTok. If you guys aren't following me on TikTok, I might not follow back because I don't want to have privy to your personal information, so that when I do a reading, I'm not influenced or the reading isn't contaminated in any way by prior information. But if you follow me on TikTok and then you just want to send me a message, This way I can message you back. And when if I know you're going through something and I find a TikTok that's pertinent to you, I can message you. Otherwise, I kind of can't message you unless you message me first, because I probably won't follow. And that's the reason I'm not following. It's not because I don't love you. It's because it can interrupt the professional capacity. But if I can find it, I will send it to you. But there is a TikTok about, there's a site that you can go on to volunteer to be guests on other people's podcasts, which means if you also hook up with that site, you could have people be guests on your podcast, so you don't feel beholden to hold the entire conversation. You could ask people if they want to be guests on your podcast. I would go be a guest on your podcast. I bet you even Val would be, right? There are people that you will get to know. Universe will send you the people. Universe sent you the gifts. They sent you the astrological transits. They sent you all the other placements that lined you up, right? Having a Sagittarius new moon in the 9th house that's conjunct your Jupiter and your Uranus is fated. Okay, you go and then you will rewatch this part. Aw. Well, I think this is a perfect time. This gives me enough of a bio break. I have an appointment in 25 minutes, so I'll be able to go eat something and prep. I already prepped, but get ready for my next client. This has been an incredible, wonderful discussion. This is the reasons why we want to have discussions, because like even when I'm reading Shauna, Maricella's like, I feel like I got a second reading. Right, you'd be too afraid that you were wrong. So that's what I'm saying. So you can just have discussions. Remember before when I said, like, I don't want to sit here and definitively say galactic astrology is bullshit, right? I can tell you that from here on, what I have seen about it, what I understand about it, it's kind of spiritual, toxic bullshit. But I can't say that, right? But we can have a discussion, and I'm not claiming authority on that subject. I absolutely said I can't claim authority on that subject. That doesn't mean people aren't thirsty to have these discussions. I know you could never ask that. She would probably happily do it. But what I'm saying is you could plug into a site where people are looking to be guests, and you could vet them from there. You might even have like a Pluto on their ascendant friend that can help you vet people. But yeah, this is a huge fated moment for you for sure. Go take care of the wrong groceries. I love you all. Next week is open to the public, the Friday, Saturday again. And then we go back into the learning series. We go back into, we'll go back into our schedule, but I am here every Friday and Saturday. I know it's up to me to build a new history because I've been inconsistent because of my health. But I promise that Fridays and Saturdays are back, and I will be here tomorrow doing doing tarot and looking at all 12 signs, Astro Tarot really. But if you want to join membership, that's in the bottom. And I hope you have a lovely rest of your day. I love you. Know you love you. Bye, everyone.